Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting content. She was supposed to be holding a microphone, not a sniper rifle. But when the ambush erupted and 11 Taliban fighters stepped into her crosshairs, award-winning war correspondent Riley Quinn discovered she wasn't just a reporter anymore. One breath, 11 shots, 0 misses. This is the true story the Pentagon never wanted told. If you love your mom and dad the way Riley fought for every soldier she ever embedded with, smash that subscribe button right now and drop a heart in the comments for the parents who raised warriors. Riley Quinn stepped off the Black Hawk at Forward Operating Base Lightning in Helmand Province with nothing more dangerous than a Sony PXW X70 camcorder slung over her shoulder and a press badge that read CNN embedded. It was July 2019, her 4th tour in Afghanistan, and she had already won 2 Emmys for stories nobody else would touch. She was 29, 5'6" in boots, and the Marines called her Red because of the streak she kept dyed in her dark ponytail, a promise to her little brother currently serving in the same province with 2-7. Riley didn't come to Afghanistan to shoot anyone. She came to make sure America never forgot the men and women who did. Captain Daniel "Danny" Herrera, commander of Viper Platoon, 1st Reconnaissance Battalion, met her at the LZ with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome to the sandbox, Miss Quinn. Try not to get my boys killed chasing a Pulitzer." She smiled back, the same smile that worked on generals and warlords alike. "I only chase the truth, Captain. The bullets usually find me on their own." The first 3 weeks were routine. Dawn patrols along the Helmand River, interviews with Afghan interpreters who feared for their families, nights spent editing footage under red light so the glow wouldn't draw RPGs. Riley had a gift for making exhausted 18-year-olds talk about their moms back in Ohio. She never carried a weapon. House rules. Journalists don't fight, they witness. That was the deal had kept her alive in Fallujah, Mosul, Raqqa. She believed in it the way other people believed in God. Then came the morning of August 2nd. Viper Platoon was tasked with escorting a State Department assessment team to a village called Sanjan Darvish, a place so-called cleared area the Taliban had quietly re-infiltrated. Riley begged to go. The village girls' school had just reopened after 10 years, and she wanted the footage. Herrera relented, but only after making her sign a fresh liability waiver in triplicate. They rolled out in 4 up-armored MAVs, Riley riding shotgun in the second vehicle with Herrera driving. The air smelled of dust and diesel. 10 kilometers south of the FOB, the lead truck hit an IED. The explosion flipped it like a toy, fire blooming black against the white-hot sky. Before the echo died, AKs opened up from 3 sides. Classic L-shaped ambush. The State Department guys froze. The Marines poured out firing. Herrera screamed into the radio for the QRF that was 40 minutes away. Riley's cameraman, a Brit named Tom Carver, took a round through the neck in the first 10 seconds. He slumped against her, blood pumping onto her lap. She dragged him behind the engine block, pressed her scarf against the wound, and felt his pulse stop under her fingers. Something inside her cracked. Not panic, something colder. The Taliban were advancing in rushes, 30 fighters at least, using irrigation ditches for cover. The platoon was down to 12 effectives, ammo already running low. Herrera was hit in the thigh, trying to drag a wounded corporal to cover. Riley saw the captain go pale as arterial blood soaked his trouser leg. She crawled to him through flying gravel. "Give me your rifle," she said. Herrera laughed once, a wet cough. "You're a reporter, Red." "Not today." He looked at her for a long second, then slid the custom-built M40A6 across the dirt. The same rifle his father had carried in Desert Storm. 11 rounds in the internal magazine, 1 in the chamber. Leupold scope already zeroed for 300 meters. Riley racked the bolt, the sound obscenely loud in her ears. The first fighter stood up at 420 yards to fire an RPG. She exhaled, squeezed, and watched the pink mist bloom where his head had been. 1. The second and third came together, trying to flank the wounded MATV. She worked the bolt smooth as silk, dropped them both before they covered 20 meters. 3. A belt-fed PKM opened up from a mud wall, chewing the ground around her. She rolled left, found the gunner's heat shimmer through the scope, and put 1 through the firing slit. The gun went silent. 4. Herrera stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. Where the fuck did you learn to shoot like that? My daddy was a Marine sniper in Fallujah. He didn't raise me to miss. She never told anyone the full truth. Her father, Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Quinn, had come home from Iraq missing half his soul and both his legs below the knee. On weekends, he sat in a wheelchair behind their ranch in Montana and taught his only daughter how to shoot prairie dogs at 800 yards with iron sights. One shot, one kill, baby girl. Waste of good ammo otherwise. She could thread a .308 through a coffee can at half a mile before she was 16. Then she went to Columbia Journalism School because she thought words could stop wars. She had been wrong. The Taliban commander, a tall figure in black turban, stood on a rooftop 600 yards out directing fire with a radio. Riley's spotter would have called it an impossible shot. Wind 8 knots left to right, 110-degree mirage. She dialed 4 minutes right, held 2 mil high for drop, and sent it. The commander dropped straight down like a puppet with cut strings. 5. That broke their morale for exactly 6 seconds. Then they raged harder. 6 more fighters sprinted across open ground toward the pinned platoon. Riley went to work. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Every round a clean center mass or headshot. The bolt locked back empty on the 11th kill, smoke curling from the barrel like incense. Silence fell so complete she could hear the ringing in her own ears and the wet sound of Herrera breathing through the pain. The Taliban that were left, maybe 15, turned and ran into the poppy fields. The QRF arrived 23 minutes later to find 12 American survivors and 11 very dead enemies laid out in a perfect line, each with a single neat hole. The official report called it extraordinary defensive fire by embarked media personnel. The Marine Corps quietly submitted Riley for a Silver Star, then quietly withdrew the package when CNN threatened to sue over breach of embed rules. They gave her a ride home on the next C-17 instead. No ceremony, no ribbon, just a new nickname whispered in the sniper community, the 11th round. But the story doesn't end in Afghanistan. 3 months later, Riley was back in New York, editing B-roll in a midtown high-rise, trying to pretend the nightmares weren't real. Then her phone buzzed with a blocked number. Miss Quinn, a man's voice said, calm, Virginia accent. You killed a very important person in Sanjan Darvish. His name was Mullah Abdul Rahim al-Dost. CIA had spent 4 years trying to turn him. You put a bullet in his head before we could. Congratulations, you're now on a jihadist fatwa list with a $5 million bounty. She laughed, a brittle sound. Tell the company they can pay me the bounty. Hazard pay for journalists is shit. The voice didn't laugh. We're offering protective custody. I've seen what you do with witnesses. No thank you. She hung up and poured herself 3 fingers of bourbon with shaking hands. The attempt started a week later. A Chechen with a knife in the subway. A car that tried to run her down outside her apartment. Each time she walked away, each time the news called it random New York violence. She bought a Glock 19 with her own money and started carrying it in defiance of every journalistic ethic she used to preach. The final twist came on a cold December night. Riley was invited to a Marine Corps birthday ball in D.C. as Captain Herrera's guest. He was walking again, thanks to a titanium femur and sheer spite. They gave her a seat at the head table between a 3-star general and a senator. Halfway through the ceremony, the lights went out. When they came back on, 6 masked men with suppressed rifles were moving through the ballroom. Former Spetsnaz, hired by the bounty. The general reached for his sidearm and took 2 in the chest before he cleared leather. Riley didn't think. She simply moved. She vaulted the table, stripped the M4 from a stunned sergeant-at-arms, and started counting shots again. 1 through the eye of the first shooter. 2 and 3 dropped the pair covering the door. 4 put the leader down as he tried to grab a child hostage, the daughter of a wounded colonel. 5 and 6 finished the last 2 before they could detonate suicide vests. 47 seconds. 6 terrorists. 0 civilian casualties. The ballroom cameras caught everything in crystal clear 4K. By morning, the footage was everywhere. CNN fired her for brandishing a weapon on camera. Fox offered her a 7-figure contract the same day. She turned them both down. Riley Quinn disappeared 6 weeks later. No forwarding address. No social media. Just a postcard sent to Captain Herrera from somewhere with mountains and snow. A single line in her handwriting. Words couldn't stop it. Bullets did. Tell my brother I finally understand. The Marine Corps never found her to give her the Silver Star. The sniper community still argues whether she took 17 or 18 kills total, depending on whose after-action report you believe. But every November 10th, at balls across the country, someone raises a glass to the reporter who became a guardian angel with 11 perfect shots, then vanished like smoke. They say if you're a Marine in trouble overseas and you hear a single, distant rifle crack followed by sudden silence on the enemy's side, you might want to look for a woman with a red streak in her hair watching over you. She isn't coming home. She's already there, wherever Americans bleed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the real story of Riley Quinn, the war reporter who picked up a sniper rifle one hot August morning and saved 12 brothers she barely knew, because someone had to. Drop your state in the comments, Marines, soldiers, patriots, moms and dads. Let me know which part of this great country you're holding the line from tonight. Semper Fi, and God bless the United States of America.